Hey, hello everyone, welcome to this channel. In this video, we will be discussing about names in Excel. So we will first differentiate between a global name and a local name, and then we will add or delete a name. We will also go through how to add information by adding a comment with the name, and then we'll go through with different types of name in Excel. And then we'll also check if a name is existing or not. And then we can also try to hide a name, and all these things will be done with the help of Excel VBA. So what is names? Basically names is when you select a range and then give it a name so that you can access that range easily. And you can also create complicated names, or which contains formulas. So that can also be done. And then sometimes you need to have a dynamic last row number, right? So suppose whenever you are adding new data into the Excel sheet and you need to know the last row, that can also be done with the help of name. And then all these things can also be done with the help of VBA, right? So we will be going through each and every step one by one. So if you don't know what is name, I'll give you a small example. So let's say you want to create a name, and for this range, right, there are two ways. One is you simply write a name over this a name box. So let's say I want to give country name, right, as name for this range. Now, if you see over here, my cursor is over here, but if you select here, you can see the country name. So as soon as you select the country name, you will see that the whole range has been selected. So it's not only for the for the data specific range. You can even select a blank range and then give a name, like let's say blank data, right? And then if you give it a name, and suppose if my cursor is over here, and then if you select, let's say blank data, so it will get selected of its own. So basically you are giving a name to this range. And the similar thing can be done with the help of if you go to the formula tab, and then within this defined names group, if you say click on name manager, you will see there are two names already existing, because both of these we have created, right? Now you can also again create a new name over here. Let's say my data, right? And then let's say you are selecting the workbook over here. I'll tell you what is the scope. Basically there are two types of scope. One is a global scope and one is a local scope. So let me first give you an example, and then I'm selecting this range, and click on OK. So now we have another range, right? Let's close this, and if you come over here, and here you will see my data as well. This is how you create a range, or this is how you create a name in the Excel sheet. It's something called scope within the names, right? So scope means whether that name is accessible globally. When I say globally, it's like in the whole workbook, or is it like in the local sheet itself. When I say sheet, it's sheet 1, 2, or 3 sheet, right? So there are like two scopes. Now let me create one scope with a local scope, and let's say local scope, right? And then if I'm saying that, it should be within sheet 1, right? And then I'm selecting this range, let's say. So this is a local scope. Now when I select this is a local scope. Now I'll tell you the difference. Now if you come to sheet 2, right? Here you will see only 3 names. You will not see the scope, like, yeah, sorry, you will not see the my data names. Why? Because when we created this name manager or names, we have said that the scope of this local scope, it should be only the local one, or within it should be limited to sheet 1 only. So that is the reason that it's not available, or it's not visible on sheet 2, right? So this is the basic difference between the global scope and local scope. Now let's do the same thing with the help of Excel VBA as well. Let me go to the developer tab, and then Visual Basic. You can also do, like, Alt F11. It will take you to the code behind as well, right? So let me do module, okay, and then public sub. Let me say adding names. So what we are doing over here, we are basically adding a new name with the help of Excel VBA. And I will say, so how did I do? For the IntelliSense, you do control and space, you will get the IntelliSense. Active workbook dot names dot add name equal to, let's say I'm saying roots, and then I'm saying refers to R1 1, and then I'm saying it should be read to R1 1 R6. So now what it does, basically it's creating a global scope name, global scope. Why is it a global scope? The reason being here, I'm saying that, it should be an active workbook, right? So I'm not mentioning any name or a specific name, and then it will become a global scope. So how do we create a local scope? I will show you that as well, right? First, let's create a global scope, okay? And oh, sorry. And then if I go to the formulas tab and name manager, now we will see roots over here, and the scope is workbook. Now I will do the same code for the local as well. So let's go to that developer Visual Basic. Now let's do the local one. So local one will be also the same. The difference will be active workbook. Oh, sorry. Active workbook dot names dot add name. Here we will also mention the sheet name. So sheet 2 roots, right? And then refers to R1 C1 sheet 2 R1 C1 R6 C, right? So this is how you create a local names. Okay, let's create once more. I'll just comment it out that we are not creating again one more. F8. So now let's go back and see if it has been created. Formulas and name manager. So now we have fruits. One is with sheet 2, and then another one is the scope is a global one. So apart from this, what you can also do, I'll not write the whole code. Instead of adding the sheet 2 in the names, um, instead of active workbook, you can say worksheets, and then the sheet name, right? And the names dot add. It's the same thing. So alternate, right? Okay. Now let's do how to delete a name. It's a bit a straightforward code. So public sub delete names. Okay. Comment delete names. So it's names, and then let's say I was saying fruits, right? Dot. So this is like very straightforward, but then now there is a small catch over here. If I run this code now, if the names name is already available with the same name in the local as well as in the global scope, first it will delete the name whichever is the local one, right? So let me show you that as well. Now let's say we already have fruits with sheet 2, and then we have fruits with workbook, right? Now let's go back and try to run this delete code. Okay, 8 8 F8. Now let's go back and then go to formulas, name manager. You will see Now only the global scope of fruits is available. The local one is deleted. So make sure that when you are writing the code to delete a name, it's you are specifically mentioning which one to delete, because the default one is the local one which will get deleted. Now let's add comment. Public sub, add comment. Again, this is very straightforward. Active workbook dot worksheets, and I'm saying that the two dot names fruits, and then dot comment equal to this is a fruit name. Okay, add comment. Now this will give an error. I will show you why. Let's run. Now, why is it giving us an error? The reason being, there is no local scope available or local name available by the name of fruits. So we already deleted one, whichever was the local one. Now only available one is the global scope name, right? So let's do one thing. Let me just delete this, right? And then let's try to add comment. Now you will see the comment has been added. Manager, now see, it has been added. So why did it give us error? Because the local scope name with the name of fruits is not available. That's why it could not find that object. Now let's talk about different types of names available in the right. So I think we have, so the types are, I think, formulas. Then we have strings, numbers, tables, and then we can also store data store array data in as well, in the names, right? So let's try all these. Okay, so let's start with formula one, which is, now sometimes you can use names as a variable as well. So we already know what is a variable, but we can also utilize names as a variable. And like I mentioned, there are four types of names available. One is formula, then string, numbers are there, and then again we can save the arrays as well. So let's try that. Uh, okay, so let's say names dot add product list refers offset, let's say $3 $2. I will come back to this what I'm doing, comma 0, and count, comma count, $A, dollar. So what we have done over here, basically we are creating or selecting a range wherever there is a data, right? So let's run this data. Dynamic data. Okay, so let's try. Let me just add some data. Now let's run this code and then see what it does. Right now, what we have done, we have created a product list name, and then with the help of this code, the data should be selecting the range. Some problem with the formula. Let me just check. So names dot add names equal to. So basically, it was wrong. And then let's try to run this again, equal to. Let's try it again. So we have product list. So basically, wherever you select, and then let's say here, and then this is the data you have. In So now if I add one more country over here, let's say Pakistan, and then if I select the name manager, right, and then product list, it will select the list of countries, and then yeah, we'll keep on adding the data. Now let's use string public sub strings names. So now, like we did over here, refers to in the refers to when we were adding a formula in the names, we are using this equal to, right? So basically, it was treating it as a formula, but that is not the case with the strings. So if you want to give a name, like let's say names dot add, and then name equal to country, and then refers to say India, right? And then if we run this code, and if we come back to the formulas, name manager, it will show India, right? So basically, this is not a formula over here. If right, India is basically the string now, so we can add as much as the name in that in the names, right? So this is how we use string type. See, sometimes what we do, to save a list of names, we create a different sheet, and then insert all the names in that sheet, and then we hide it so that we can use them, let's say, to create a list or something. But in the same scenario, we can also create a name and then give all the names to that names as well, right? So I'll show you that example. So let's say um producer, now let's say if current seller equal to evaluate yes seller, then uh, let's say message box of seller is evaluate previous seller. Okay. Okay. Now else copy this. Okay. So now what it does, I will not run this, but what this basically does, it will go and check the item, or it will first check if this name is already available. It should be available because we are not checking, if this name is available or not. What this evaluate does, it basically checks the list of items in this name, right? And then if it is the previous seller and the current seller is the same, then it will give you this. Otherwise, it will give you a new seller. So how it can be useful is because when, like I mentioned earlier, normally users do what they do. They used to save the list of items in an Excel sheet and then hide them, right? But you can also do the same in this way if you know the VBA part, right? You can create a list in the names, and then you can refer them. Okay. Now let's talk about the number name. It's pretty much simple, right? So basically, you can assign a number to a name in two ways. Let's say we have total sales is equal to 5,000, and then I'm saying names dot add name equal to total sales, and then I'm saying refer to equal to total sales. So this is one way, and then alternate way, what we can do is simply names dot add name total sales, and then you can assign the value, right? Yeah, and then you can assign the value is refers to equal to 5,000. So both these ways refers to, so both these ways are correct. Now, how to retrieve the value in a name? I retrieve a value. Let's say there are two ways. One is like total sales, total total sale. I'm just giving another variable name so that you don't get confused. Let's say total sale, equal to names, and then we already gave this name, so total sales, right? So this is one way. Or what you can do, you can also say number sales equal to total sales equal to total sales. Both these way are correct ones. Sometimes, whoever is writing your code, please make sure that you write a simple way of coding, because if someone is very new to programming, and then if he or she is not able to understand what is like evaluate or what are these square brackets, make sure that you write the comment. So that's why I was writing small comments, because the code is not long enough to write a detailed code. But have a practice of writing comments, so that anyone who's going through your code can understand it easily. So in the names, the table type is a bit different from like we did earlier. So here you cannot just create a table manually, right? So you cannot just create a range in a sheet and then give it a name and then it will become a table. No, it's not like that. So there's a different way of creating a table, and then we will be going through that. So let's say I have this table, or let me just copy the data from here. Now let's say sub date table. Now let's say active sheet dot the list object, sorry, list list objects dot add, and then I'm saying xl src range, and then I'm giving a range name. Oh, sorry, a range is our, let's say, $A1, $C, dollar data we have 7, yeah, comma xl yes dot name equal to table 1. Okay, now I will just take you through this code. So this Excel source tells the code, or tells the Excel that the data is in the range is in the Excel, and then it tells what is the range of that data, right? And then there are a couple of other so you have not used. Basically it's saying whether there is a linked data source or not, so which is not there, because we are using a range, right? And then excel yes is telling the code that there is a header available, like this one. So we have headers as well. So let's run this. So now when I run this code, so it has created a table, right? And then let's check if we have this table. So now we have table 2, which is like a list of, which is like a table. So we have created a table in the name. Now let's create arrays. So many developers they don't store the data in Excel, or they don't run the code like using a variable name or something like that. They basically run the code in the array data. So array basically uses your system memory instead of your Excel memory, or let's say cache. So and the code which runs on the array data, it's really fast. You try it, because it gets some time to understand how the indexing works in array, but once you understand it, you will understand, you'll get to know how fast it is to write code with the help of array. So we will do something like that in when we create the names, and then try to store the array in that name. Sub array, right? Okay, let's say dim array 10 comma 5. You cannot give a name, like reserve the name. Okay, now dim I as integer, and then j as integer, right? Now what it will do, will fill the array, right? This my array. Okay, let's do for I is equal to 0 to 10, next I, and then for j is equal to 0 to 5, next j, and then let's say my array I comma j equal to I plus j. So what it does, basically, it will keep on adding the items in the array, right? So this is how we create an array. And now let's create a name for that. Let's give a name to this array. So names dot add name equal to array, which refers to my array, gives name to array. This okay, great. So let's try to run this. So it's getting added. So it will run 5 times with each loop, right? So let's F5, and now we will have an array. And if you want to see what all there in this array, you can just right click, add watch, I think. Okay. And then if you see over here, you can see all the items this array, right? So this is how you debug the code. Now we are giving this array a name. So let's say, so basically that array is enough. But if we go back and go to the formulas and give name manager, you will see the array over here, and then you will see all the items over here. I mean, this is a really good way of giving a name to an array, and then just call that name, and you can say whatever the values you want to save. Now there are a couple of reserved words when it comes to names. So we have, I think we have extract, then we have database, then we have criteria, then we have print area, and then we have print titles. So you cannot use all these names while we are giving a name to our names. Now let's try to hide a name. So basically what I mean is we can hide these names as well. So which can only be visible if the user goes back into the code and enables it or makes it visible. Otherwise it will be hidden for all the time. It's okay. I mean, sometimes you don't want the normal users to play around with the names. So yeah, so let's say public sub hide names. Let's say names dot add name it. Okay, refers to, let's say, read $4 A1, right? And then visible equal to false. Visible. Okay. F8. Now we have created it, but it's not visible. So sometimes if a user creates a new name or creates a name with the same name, then the name which is created with the help of a code, that will get replaced with the name that is used or created by the user. So make sure that you protect that sheet while creating a name which is hidden. Okay, so if you want to see if the name has actually created or not, let's say I'm saying names with dot visible equal to true. Now let's try and just comment this code, and then let's run. And then if we come to the formulas, name manager, change it over here.